So I'm going to review the German Army T-34 76 mod 1942 cast turret. This is a switch up for me because it is a Russian tank, which I normally do not like very much. Although I'm starting to like them a little bit, but it's a German one, so it's okay. I need to review this. I need to build it for a little group build that's coming up, so I thought I'd get right to it. Also testing out a new camera, so if things seem a little different or weird or awkward, bear with me. I'm trying to find my feet here with this new camera. So this is a Cyber Hobby white box Beute Panzer, which means captured Panzer, and you can already see that it has a Panzer III-4 cupola on it. There's nothing else about this one that looks particularly German, and I don't really know as much about T-34s as I do about Tigers and things, but what I do know is that the tooling for this comes from 2003. There's a kit numbered 6092. That's quite old for a tooling that's still going. And then this guy fell in at about 2009, and it's kit number 6486. I don't even know if that's about halfway through, but counting white boxes and dragon kits, there have been about 25 versions of this tooling released, so that's quite a few. If we look on the box, we have just a couple of things like we always do. Telling me the turret hatch has welded detail. Newly tooled plates. You know, I can't speak to these things because I don't know the kit that well, so. On the back, it's talking about the Panzer III cupola. There's some tiny little PE bits that look like they'll be a huge pain. Some very cool cast texture over here. A very complicated assembly from what it looks like, but I'll get into that more when I see it. And thankfully magic tracks. So our instructions are in color, which we see with some of the older kits like the premiums and other types of KTs and Panthers. The blue is, there's kind of a lot not used if you look here. I mean, that's a whole sprue apart from these two little dudes. And the PE sheet actually looks kind of substantial, so. Looks like we've got very, very simple wheel assemblies. And now on T-34, I believe the idlers are at the front. That's how new I am to this. I'm building it, so I'll learn. That's why I do this, but. So we've got really simple hub and two-piece wheel detail. None of this looks hard at all. These, I believe, are spring housings, and they cover up these spots here. Got some swing arms on the outside, but not that many. Steps 1 through 3 look super, super simple. Alright. Again, just tiny little pieces, you know, a front plate and a few pieces. They're suggesting you put wheels on, but these are rubberized. I know T-34s had both, but so they're suggesting tracks go on. I won't be doing that. And then here's where it gets very complex very quickly. So anything that's in colored plastic, you can tell is from the old tooling, but anything that's in these black and white exploded drawings is from, you know, when they modernized it, so to speak. And then this, you've got a pretty complex PE assembly here. This is the thing I've heard people, like some of the Tiger P stuff, it suggested you can solder this instead of glue it. I'm not sure which I'll do. I'm going to rely very heavily on my my friend Panzermeister 36 to guide me through this build. So again, super simple, almost like Tamiya level simple with these just large pieces. Bang, bang, bang. It's kind of crazy. The whole front plate going on together. Pretty simple bow MG. Now here you've got some PE that looks kind of intimidating, and I've seen this done. So I'm going to do it, but you basically have to glue these little hooks on and then feed these straps through there. So I'd like to try it. It looks really cool when it's done. Spare tracks going on, and then a ton of little PE for this, what I assume is a toolbox. And here we have another one. So you build the pieces of it that way. Bunch of PE stuff goes on. We do have some limited breech assembly by the look of it. And the gun is slide molded, which is good. Then here's straight out of a Panzer III-4 kit is our German cupola. Not a whole lot else that's complex though. I'm curious if this tow cable is styrene. It looks like it would be. We're already getting into like final assembly steps. Yep. And our painting and markings, unidentified Eastern Front 42. My objective for this guy, and we're doing it for a YouTube group build very soon, is to make it even more German. Possibly more lights, like a no-tech light, and maybe a Panzer III-4 bin on the back as well. Thought about putting a Pack 40 in there, but that's, if it wasn't really done, I don't want to do it. So in the box, first we have the Dragon card, which is the smaller style. We do have magic tracks, which are of sort of a two-piece style, kind of like let's say King Tigers and Yag Tigers and stuff. They seem okay. I have some issue with the KT ones not going together terribly well. Then we have our tow cable, but I mean this one feels extra hard. I don't know if you've dealt with Dragon tow cables. I really like the copper ones. These are just a bit too hard for me. Two different PE sheets. This little guy is just these two pieces. Then this has that rear intake. And all these little hook things that need to go on the hull, which I'm a little bit intimidated by, but we're going to try it anyway. The rest of this sheet has, or this card, headlight clear parts, and then I believe these are Panzer III-4 periscope parts. So, lastly also we have these Balkenkreuz, which are kind of a strange style, but I believe that's so you can clearly see them on the side of the turret. Because if you were driving around in a Russian tank, your chances of getting hit before they saw your markings were pretty good. So, plastic stuff. We've got this giant sprue, and this is, it looks like sort of idler's front plates. This would be the bottom of the turret. Has some interesting sort of detail on there. The top piece of the turret is right there. Here we have, I believe, the slide molded 76mm gun. I think some of these hatches aren't used. But some of this stuff looks pretty cool. I mean, getting used to having a zoom on this camera. And this stuff over here, that looks pretty cool. This guy. Everything on here looks alright. Yeah, I mean the level of detail on this stuff isn't outdated or anything, so I'm expecting some of these sprues to be sort of dated. I mean even the plastic on these is pretty thin, so it does seem modern. And we've got two of this guy, which is clearly our wheels. I'm not sure if we use these though. These look like the non-rubberized wheels. They are pretty thin right here though, which is very, very cool. It seems, you know, up to modern standards. I say that a lot, but. And then these little parts, these are swing arms, very similar to what the Germans used. Not really sure on these, but this all seems pretty new. I mean, I'm sure they've been using it for a long time, but it does not seem 2003. It seems more 2009-y. And again, bear with me as I'm not a Russian expert. I won't try to name things I don't know what are, but that is definitely a wheel. Last thing in that bag was our turret shell, which got a nice texture to it. I'll try to zoom in on texture and keep it in shot. That's going to take some getting used to. There you go. I'd say that's pretty good. There's a little sprue gate. It's always interesting when you get these because they removed it from, you know, on a machine. I assume a machine. And not us. So we don't have much of a choice. We gotta clean it up. Seems to be a decent piece. Very thin. But good. They're in a good way. Next up we've got this little guy, which looks like possibly styrene options for those PE clamps or things. Again, I don't want to say things are a thing they're not. Then this is very... Yeah, because this looks like styrene for the things that slide through these. And these guys here look like some kind of toolbox or something. And I couldn't tell you what those two are. Not real sure. This is straight out of a Panzer IV kit. So if you've seen any of my stuff, this is the exact same Panzer IV cupola sprue. It looks good. I like the way it goes together. You can pick open or closed on these vision ports. I usually do like the front ones open and the back ones closed. I don't know if that's correct, but I always feel like it's kind of neat looking if I do it that way. Then we have this. Some nice little parts on it here. I don't know what those are. They look like water spouts or something. I think those are headlights. That looks like a top of a hatch we're not going to use because we have the sort of German one. These are toe shackles, clearly. It's interesting how different it is just to have another country's tank. I've done nothing but German stuff up until now. So, we also have this, which is, now this is what I'm talking about with 2003 molding technology. Check out the gun, the halves. You can also just tell that the plastic is a little thicker. I talked a lot about this after I built that Nashorn, which had a lot of stuff from this era as well as new stuff in the kit. I'm sure we used something like this piece here, and that could be why we still need this sprue. That's a nice piece though. That's obviously the front of the turret. Not sure what this is, but there's mantlet pieces here. They may have still used those. They may have just replaced the gun and kept those. And then there's the breech. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much of that sprue you use, but some of it does look a bit dated. We also have two of this. So these are the spring assemblies that go inside the hull. They look a little thick, maybe. The springs themselves look pretty good. But the plastic can be thick, so I guess it doesn't really matter, and we've got 4 of those per side. And then these, I believe, are spare fuel canisters that go on the rear. Sometimes it's an option. And then tons of little stuff I'm not really sure what is. More swing arms as well. This sprue and this one were together. This one has one extra piece, which is, I believe, the bits for the front hatch. This one has some nice stuff on it if you look here. That's pretty good for molded. Oop. My apologies, it is very hard for me to understand what the camera's looking at right now, because everything is different than it has been for me for the last half a year. I'll get there. Then in the bag, we've got just this guy, which has a T-34 85 gun on it, which is interesting because it doesn't have a turret for that, which is too bad because I actually prefer that turret. Not much to see about it. It's hollow, which is cool. We've got a Russian machine gun. Not real sure. The sprue... Sometimes I judge how old the sprue is based on how large the font is. They changed the way they did these things to see how small the words are. That normally suggests it's an older sprue. But these pieces look very finite and good, and I have no issue with it, so it might not be that old. These are grab handles and some other stuff, and then there's our MG mount with some cast texture on it. Okay, so we've got a largish sprue which has our front plate clearly, like just the standard front plate. That seems pretty smooth though. Kind of curious. The Russian tanks are sort of unrefined, and it doesn't feel that unrefined. Some more front fenders. I think we've seen these already. Those are our armored exhaust covers. Some real funky looking grab handles. I thought one was broken until I just saw they were both like that. Lots of handles. These all go along the hull, I think. That is your rear plate. Hitting my own tripod. Sorry about that. That looks pretty good. The rivets look pretty solid. This is the styrene option for this piece that you can get rid of and put PE on. The detail looks okay on it. I will try to do the photo etch version of it though. So the most curious thing about this sprue, because I think we use this main plate, is just how smooth that plate is. There's like no texture on it. I mean, a little. And it shouldn't be cast, it should be rolled, but it's pretty smooth. Then we have, lastly from that bag, our upper hull. So, kind of neat looking. The texture is okay. It's got sort of a rolled steel thing on most of the bits. I know there's some stuff you have to cut off of here. Not sure what it is though. No, not sure. But yeah, it looks alright. Then we have this thing. I'm not even sure what these parts are. They look a little thick in the way they're constructed, so I'm guessing this hull's been around for a long time. I can't really identify what the parts are though. Alright, so this confirms my suspicion that we have different types of wheels, and I have two of this guy. Now, these are rubberized wheels. Maybe they're just for the outside. I'm going to try to just zoom in on these instead of freaking out and moving everything around, because it's hard for me to stay where I need to be. They look nice. I like it. Yeah, there's not much to say. They seem pretty modern in their construction. I mean, these little bits here suggest that this is a pretty new sprue. Looks good. Okay, so we have one more little one that I missed at some point. Not even sure which bag it was in. Not that that's terribly important. So this is, it looks like more covers for the rear, some tie-down stuff, and another part of an MG housing for the front. And we have the lower hull. So, smooth as a baby's butt, this piece. Holy cow. I don't look at the bottom very much, so I don't know that I care all that much, but it is awfully smooth. So, it seems okay. The lower hull, it's not terrible, but it does seem sturdy, it does seem the right shape, so that's a win. So overall, I think it'll be nice for me just to build something that is not the same stuff. I mean, there's tons of German stuff I haven't built, but it was just nice to see completely different sprues. So I'm looking forward to building this. And the kit seems okay. I hear a lot of good things about these from other YouTube guys. So it should be fine. And then you can find these very, very cheaply. There's some iterations of the T-34 kits going for like 20, 25 bucks on eBay a few months ago. So if you really want one, they should be pretty easy to get.